There isn't much creativity around at the minute. A lot of what screwed it up is calling it the creative department, because people in that department think they are creative and therefore everything they do is creative, and most of it isn't. Most of it is dull and boring and pollution. And people who are not in that department think they're off the hook for being creative, and so they can just do their job going through the numbers. So you got pretty much boring planners, pretty much boring account men, pretty much boring writers, and pretty much boring art directors. And then everybody wants to talk about creativity. Well, like I said, there isn't any, because people have misunderstood what it is. What it actually is, it's not a thing, it's a quality in how you do what you do. It's a quality in outthinking other people. Bill Bernbach said, it may well be that creativity is the last unfair advantage we're legally allowed to take over our competitors. It may well be that creativity is the last unfair advantage we're legally allowed to take over our competitors. So that doesn't mean writing clever headlines, that doesn't mean doing flashy visuals, going on YouTube and picking the latest technique. That's not creative, but that's pretty much where it's come to nowadays, because people don't understand what creativity is. Used to be, 10 or 15 years ago, people said the ads were better than the programs. You don't hear that anymore. You don't hear that because it's not. The ads are pollution. The ads are, let's use a lot of complicated language, and that will be the fact that, and then we'll all be surprised that what's ended up on the box is actually something nobody wants to look at. The numbers are £18.3 billion spent on advertising in the UK last year. Of that, 4% remember positively, 7% remember negatively, 89% not noticed or remembered. So let's call that roughly 17 billion quid pissed away by so-called experts. Because if it's not noticed or remembered, as Bill Bernbach said, if no one notices your advertising, everything else is academic. It is not a breakthrough piece of insight to spot that if no one notices your advertising, it can't possibly work. Form follows function. So the important part is function. What you see around art galleries isn't creative, that's just style. Edward de Bono says there are a lot of people calling themselves creative who are actually mere stylists. That's what you see in art galleries. Style, not creativity. So what you see in art galleries are beautiful chairs that you can't sit on. If you can't sit on it, it's not a chair. It's a sculpture. Yeah? If it doesn't fulfill the function, it's not creative. It's a piece of style. An orange box that you can sit on is more of a chair than a beautiful piece of sculpture that you can't sit on. Nothing wrong with a beautiful piece of sculpture, but it's not a chair. Because it always makes sense to know where a thing started, what happened and where it came from. That's the punter. I was doing this talk in Berlin once to a group of German businessmen, and they were making very careful notes. And at the end of it, one of the German businessmen says, "You have this new demographics that we have never heard of before. Can you explain it to us? What is punter?" Okay, well, just to be clear, it's not a new demographic. It's the punter, it's the consumer, it's everybody. It's the bus driver, the cab driver, the shop assistant, the woman on the checkout. This is everybody, the punter. And he or she probably hasn't been to university and got a degree in marketing. That's what the punter is. Someone without a university degree in marketing, an ordinary person. Media first got to the punter with cave paintings at Lascaux 60,000 years ago. on the walls of the caves in France. That's how he would get to them. Then the media changed and it became oil paintings, frescoes, around the Renaissance. Then the media changed again and it became photography. And we would get to the punter that way. Then the media changed again and it became film. And that was the latest way to get to the punter. Then the media changed again and it became TV. And the media changed again and it became online, digital. Pretty soon the media is going to change again and it will become whatever the next thing is that's so exciting it will kill everything and the world will never be the same and everything else is dead. Do you notice one thing on there that isn't changing, one thing on there that's never changed, one thing that will never change? The punter. Bill Bernbach said it took man millions of years to get to where he is now. It will take him millions more years to even change slightly. Everybody talks about changing man. Our proper area of study is unchanging man. Every conversation works the same way. From the minute you're born till the minute you die. You must have impact, you must have communication, and you must have persuasion. And it must work that way round. You can't get persuasion first and then impact. You can't get, obviously you've got to have impact first. If you don't have impact, how is anybody going to know what you're saying? How is anybody even going to know what you're there? This isn't anything you didn't know from the minute you were born as a baby. You've got to have impact or nothing happens. You've got to get on someone's radar or nothing happens. That's a simple, timeless human truth. This is not, you don't need 3 years at university for this. You've got to get on the radar. Once you're on the radar, they need to know what you want. So the opportunity is opinion formers versus opinion followers. Now, if you ever worked on beer, you go in a pub and you'll see, might be different nowadays, but used to be you go in a pub and you'd see 4 or 5 blokes together, all in a group, 3, 4, 5 blokes together. One of them would be leading the conversation. One of them would be doing most of the talking. The others would all be chipping in, but one of them would be doing 50% of the talking. The others would be chipping in a little bit here and there. He'd be talking about what he'd seen on Discovery Channel. He'd seen a film about U-boats or Luftwaffe, or he'd seen a film about what was happening at Man United, or Pep Guardiola, or Jurgen Klopp, or he'd heard a new joke that nobody else had heard before or something. He'd lead in the conversation, they'd all be chipping in, yeah? He's an opinion former, they're opinion followers. You go to Starbucks, used to be you'd see 4 women together at a table, or a restaurant, you see 4 women together. One of the women would be doing most of the talking, the others would all be chipping in, but they don't want the spotlight to be constantly on them all the time. They're happy to let her do most of the talking, and they'll chip in as they want. She's an opinion former, they're opinion followers. Usually one opinion former can influence quite a few opinion followers. If we look at opinion formers as our media, so instead of trying to get opinion followers with 83 million quid one at a time, if we get opinion formers one at a time, each of those comes complete with 5 or 6 opinion followers. Now what we know is with opinion formers, they're not looking for the same old things that these guys are looking for, the same old zeros that only work one at a time and need 83 million quid to make them work. What these guys need is something unusual, something different, something no one's seen before.